All right, back to it now as we continue the conversation. I've been watching the hurricane season. I do this every year because I'm curious, like the 10-day forecasted weather, which I think if you ran a graph of that, it'd almost always be wrong. The hurricane season been quite quiet so far, at least for the United States. Congressman Jimmy Patronis is joining me, a Republican from Florida. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so just real quickly, Florida usually gets the brunt of the hurricane season. I'm sorry, but the climate change fearmongers, they've got to be disappointed this year. There's not much happening in Florida, thankfully. When you get hit, and it's always a mess, and it's always painful. But hurricanes have been less frequent over the last 20 years than the 20 years before that, that's for sure. What have you seen this year?
So, look, out in Colorado, they always do the prediction models of how many hurricanes they're going to have. And they go and create some news and stir the pot and get everybody all spun up. And I'm convinced that, because it comes from a university. I don't know if it's Colorado State University of Colorado, someplace I'm never going to go to. But they send out these prediction models, and they always create about a week's worth of news with it. I'm convinced the reinsurance companies bankroll this university just so they can use a credible sounding, educated title to say it's going to be a crazy hurricane season, just so they can have an argument to get 1 or 2 more percentage points when it comes to forcing, the industry to borrow money from reinsurers. So, I'm a big believer that there's a lot of speculation, but not much science when it comes to hurricane seasons in the Atlantic and in the Gulf.
Huh. And here's what the people are saying. That 3 Cat 5s this year, terribly. 3 Cat 5s that were out in the middle of nowhere. They didn't do anything.
That's right.
And so, whatever. Anyhow, let's talk about the government shutdown. People in Florida, people in Michigan, all points in between, concerned because SNAP benefits aren't going on. I think we ought to be concerned that there are more than 40 million Americans that get SNAP benefits in the first place. That's 15% of the American population. Maybe we have a bigger problem, but for those that really need it, they need it. And so here we are with Chuck Schumer saying, it gets better for us every day. I'm not sure for who. You've got Catherine Clark saying, people will suffer, and that gives us leverage. It's shameful what they're doing, isn't it?
Well, and this is all about trying to create as much urgency with their base in the elections next week in Virginia, New Jersey, and New York. They cannot afford to have any dip. And if any Democrats, cross the aisle, all of their base that has Trump derangement syndrome will lose their mind and throw their hands up and not vote. So, yeah, they're going to hold hostage the whole, United States military or TSA or air traffic controllers in order to help these elections have a little more of a chance of being successful. But at the same time, how much of their own punishment are they willing to inflict on programs that they care about that ultimately, in my opinion, I got elected to make sure we're more efficient and truly only serve those who truly needed the benefit.
How long is this going to go on, do you think, Congressman? I see no movement from the Democrats. Apparently they think that they should run this, my guess is, through the elections coming up Tuesday in Virginia and New Jersey, where they're at risk of losing governor races that should be locks for them. I also saw CNN giving the numbers. Support for Republicans is up 5 points overall, up 8 points with independents since this whole thing began, 28, 29 days ago. The numbers are not favoring the Democrats. We'll see how it plays out. What are your thoughts?
I'm 100% lockstep with you. This thing is not going to stop or even get back to negotiating levels until after the election. They're going to be, numbskulls, dig in. And you got to remember back in March when Chuck Schumer brought some of his Democratic colleagues over to do this exact same vote, he got eviscerated. He even had a book tour planned. He pulled down the whole book tour because of how much blowback he got from his own base. And you got AOC and Bernie Sanders just licking their chops, waiting. So, it's like no way this is a winning scenario for Chuck Schumer. But
no, I think she runs against him anyway. I don't think it matters.
That's right.
AOC is going to run for the United States Senate 100%.
he's old and washed up, and she's young and got her base fired up, and then she's got Grandpa Bernie there in her corner rooting her on, and she's going to own the mayor of New York. So
I thought it was crazy Uncle Bernie, but okay, Grandpa will work. Let me ask you about something. The redistricting going on all over the country. North Carolina's getting in. Virginia said they're going to do it. Indiana's doing it. Missouri's doing it. Obviously, Texas and California. What about Florida? If you did it in Florida, wouldn't you pick up some seats?
Yeah, so in Florida, you would potentially, if you took the last census data, and that's the key issue there. You take the last census data and try to revisit it. This is what you would have to work with in order to draw. We've got what's called fair districts. It's a constitutional amendment in Florida that puts constitutional requirements on how these maps are drawn. So in Florida, we've kind of got our hands tied.
So did California. They didn't care,
yeah.
but go on.
Yeah, but California, it's crazy. California looks like they're going to be successful with Amendment 50 or Proposition 50, which is actually going to repeal a bipartisan commission. But this is just how much strength the Democratic voters, and Obama's been camped out there. That guy needs to go retire. Have you seen his presidential library? Oh, it looks like a prison.
It looks like something dystopian. It's bizarre. And by the way, it's 100%. Wildly underfunded. It'll never be completed on time. It's going to be tremendously over budget if it ever gets done. So it's a typical Democrat project. It makes sense.
Right, 100%.
Let me ask you about this one. Redistricting. The other thing that's out there is this huge Supreme Court case that I'm quite convinced from the state of Louisiana that will say you cannot draw congressional districts based on race, which will flip seats in Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana. Would that affect any of the districts in Florida if that were the Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, there's one in Florida that it would affect. So, you can't have this double standard where you want all these constitutional boundaries in place, and then now you've got this court ruling that says, you got to create a minority district. So, anyway, there'll be one seat in Florida that would be in jeopardy down in South Florida.
Look, if Democrats didn't have double standards, Congressman, they'd have no standards at all.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Absolutely true. Look, people are going to get hurt here, certainly after the 1st of November. I hope the Democrats come to their senses and say, look, a clean continuing resolution is how we do this. Obamacare failed. It was designed to fail. It was designed to get us to a single-payer health care system. And so blaming Republicans for the failure of the ACA, which is in effect what they're doing, is a terrible argument. I'll give you the last word.
So Rick Scott's actually pushing a proposal, which, we've got Obamacare subsidy, then you got the enhanced subsidies from COVID. And ultimately, there's a large portion that's just going to go and offset premium or premium profits for the carriers.
Sure.
Rick Scott says, okay, fine, Democrats, if you're so passionate about this, instead of making it a premium subsidy, why don't we just give the money straight to the policyholder? So now you're going to be empowering the policyholder to go take their money to go wherever they go. So, it would be a hell of a shot to the system, which is way overdue for a course correction.
Amen to that. Put the power in the hands of the purchaser, not mandates from the government. Congressman, great having you here. Nice to speak to you finally. Jimmy Patronis, he represents Florida 1. Beautiful piece of real estate, by the way, sir. Come back anytime.
Will do. Thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, there you have it. Update from the great free state of Florida. I'll be right back.